Schmooze basically means buttering somebody up. It means that you're that person. You're the one that has the charisma and the charm, and you know how to schmooze people. And that's the opposite of what we're talking about with More Money Now. It makes absolutely no difference what you're like. You can do this. You can be the most abrasive person in the world. You can be the most reserved person in the world. You can be the most um, um, kind of averse to any kind of schmoozing like behavior and do this. It's very important you understand this. Otherwise, you're going to take yourself out of the game of More Money Now. And the point is, if you're really working through product and connect and ask in the way I'm talking about, by the time you get to schmooze, you're just being yourself. And that's all they want from you, anyways. The kind of people you want to be with the real you, not the schmoozing you. And that's really what Stephen King is talking about is he doesn't want to do any of that, any of that, any of that. And we think we have to become as successful in the industry as a Stephen King to not have to play the game. What I'm saying is play your own game and they will be there with you when you know what you've got. That's product, who it's for and why it matters. When you know how to connect in a way that feels resonant for you first and then for them, because you're looking at, hey, what do we think about each other here? They don't see you as somebody trying to sell them or schmooze them. None of it. And then, and ask, there's some kind of a dialogue going on of why do you resonate with me? Why do I resonate with you? What's that all about? Ask to cement the resonance. Now what? Well, nothing happens until you get to a shared desire. And that's what we're going to talk about with Schmooze. It's about a shared desire. And then you don't have to sell or network anymore or prospect. Even if you're going to networking events, you're not networking. You don't need an elevator message or any of that stuff. So, what's coming with this is what you want to be able to do is know how to create a shared desire with somebody that where you resonate with each other. Otherwise, you're just having a great conversation. And this is still a business dialogue. If you make friends, that's great, but we don't want fake friends. Nobody wants another fake friend. What's the pathway to doing this? Empathy, attentive, and directed. And it's not what you think. I'm not talking about going around and helping everybody so in return you get something from them. In fact, this is the opposite of that. That's a persuasion principle called reciprocity. We don't want to do any reciprocity persuasion with these approaches of schmooze that we're going to talk about in More Money Now. What do you get as a result of all this? How do you know it feels right and it's working? The conversations are incredibly resonant with people, and you walk out of the call as you move to next. You have to do next, which is the fifth video here, and it's obvious. It's like, wow, we got there, didn't we? And the other person is like, yeah, we did. And that has to be an explicit dialogue, not a projection of your mind thinking something happened because it happened for you, but it didn't happen for them. That's why you have to have a stated shared desire. And we're going to talk about how that works. The learning approach here is the vulnerability feeling of being yourself in the world with people you don't know yet. So if you're shy, be shy. If you're difficult to understand, be a little bit more difficult to understand. If that's who you are and that's your thing, maybe that's it. And the people who understand you is your group. Or if you're like me, you were difficult to understand and you feel like this is not right, then you need to become understandable by more people. This is the learning approach, again, is that calibration. So remember the three-legged stool. It's notice, adjust, and calibrate. Calibrate is product market fit. If you're a shy person and your people are other shy people, why would you pretend not to be shy? That doesn't make any sense. Just be it. Be how you are. If you're a shy person and you don't feel it's right for you and you want to break out of being shy because you feel like you're in the shy prison, then that's your work. The learning approach is about taking off the schmooze layer and thinking more like being a Stephen King, not how he does it, but that he decided this is what I'm doing. And the key is doing it before you're as successful as he is. And I know you can do that because I'm doing it. And I'm doing it before I get the market credibility where I can be an eccentric weirdo. I can be an eccentric weirdo now without the social proof and credibility. So the myth of the sales pipeline is one of the barriers. So the idea, I hear this all the time, is how am I going to follow up with people? How am I going to qualify them? How am I going to not waste my time with people who won't buy? Forget all that thinking and just get rid of it. If you work in a sales organization where you're compensated based on metrics and performance and someone else is in charge, you're going to have to do that unless you're really, really able to live outside the matrix in someone else's matrix. Now, that takes some courage, and you have to be ready to get fired and not have a problem with it. So, with this, don't worry about the sales process and the stages. It's not important. Just forget all about everything you learned about sales pipelines. You don't need that. But what you do need is to understand yourself well enough and how to connect with the other person in the schmooze phase where there's really an explicit stated shared desire. And next means there's something identified that's next. And that has nothing to do with closing, which you'll see when we get to that. So the idea of how to form relationships and where to develop those relationships and what is the approach to relationships is not based on a belief. So the belief of, well, salespeople have to be like this and social media works like this and this, none of it's important. What matters is what resonates with you. So as you're in your product, as you're in your connect in the way you want to do it, as you're in ask, seeing where the resonance is, when you're in the schmooze phase, it's a business relationship based on a shared desire, and how you got there isn't important. When you find ways you like to get there, now you know how you're going to build those relationships. And that's a lot has to do with who you are and what you're good at doing, what you like to do. Understanding roles becomes really important here because we're not friends. This isn't about being a friend. The friend's a separate thing. That's someone in your personal life. There is a role clarity thing here where these are professional conversations around money, exchange at some point, or barter, or whatever it is. So I have an interest, they have an interest. I have a vision, they have a vision. Can I understand your vision? Can you understand my vision? You don't even have to understand my vision. Can I articulate my vision in a way that's resonant to you so you can tell me what your vision is? And then I can think, is there any kind of a shared desire here where I can participate in your vision in a way that works for you, not getting you to see things the way I see them, but create an us. That's the role clarity. The role clarity is 1 + 1 = 3. You, me, and an us. And the us is the shared desire that comes from us resonating with each other, where I realize there's something in your vision that captures my attention, where I know, not think and hope, but know that I can impact on that shared desire that's been clearly articulated between us. So we've defined that. So you say, I want to make more money. And I say, well, I can help you make more money, maybe. Well, we got to get to resonance. Can you realize to get more money with more money now, you got to release some of the fear. You got to stop the marketing, stop the glazing, stop the sales techniques. And if you're going to argue with me about it, that's fine. I'm going to say, well, here's how I do it. We don't have a lot of resonance yet. Give you an opportunity to get to that or not. And then maybe you get there quick and I'm like, oh, good, ask, more resonance. Now we're in the schmooze phase. And I'm like, okay, so you believe, and I'll ask them, if you do these things and make these shifts, now you're going to start making more money. And they say, I don't know. And I'm like, that's fine. What's our shared desire? I want to help you get into this so you can make more money. Your desire is to make more money. I don't care what the reason is. That's your vision. My vision is to help entrepreneurs, coaches, and service providers have a better experience. That's what I'm doing. Clarify that role. How do I do that? Well, here's the ways. I got different ways. I'm not going to explain them to you. I'm going to give you a guest pass and you can come in and check it out yourself. Because I don't know what your experience is going to be of it. All I know is I'm willing to do that now, not because you're in my funnel, but because we've created a shared desire around something. So that's schmooze. In this case, it's you want to have a better entrepreneur experience, which includes making more money. I want you to have a better one too, because that's what I'm doing in the world. That's my inner purpose rolled out into the world in the form of the company that I've created. And I want to ask you, do you want to do that together? And if the answer is, I don't know, tell me more about it, I'm like, why? There's nothing to talk about. Now we get to Red Pill Pathway and I can show you how to create experiences. So the idea of the experience is I can't explain to you what your experience is going to be like engaged with the product I've got. How could I? I don't know everyone's is different. So I'm going to say, experience it. Come see what it's like for you. Do you want to do that? Well, let me think about it. I'm like, okay, we're not at the shared. So the shared desire broke down because that desire is on their sides, maybe not that, it's not that serious. Maybe their mind's talking them out of it. In sales thinking, the idea is knowing the mind will talk somebody out of it. So how do we deal with that? How do we use techniques of the mind manipulation to stop them from talking themselves out of it? And my answer is let them talk themselves out of it and clarify the role, which is, well, right now, I think, you can keep chatting with me or read my stuff online. And then if you want a guest pass at some point, let me know. Being alone as an entrepreneur, coach, or service provider is the grind. And I don't think there's any way around it. I think the only way I've found, for me at least, to not feel in that grind is to be with a group. And I've seen this more than once. I don't think this is my opinion. When I look at any wisdom tradition of any kind, there's always a group involved, whether it's a religious, spiritual tradition, or whether it's a business kind of thing based on principles. It doesn't matter what it is. There always seems to be a group. There's something about the group eliminating the grind of doing whatever the thing is. And part of the idea of the schmooze here is there's a group. There's some kind of shared experience that you've got for them. Now, not everyone's going to want to do that, but it's helpful if at least you're part of something like that you can bring them into, because it's really important and it's a way to elevate that shared desire and get somebody to it faster. And wrapping yourself in that by founding your own group of 5 or 10 or whatever, participating in someone else's group, or figuring out how to incorporate that into the experience you're offering. If you have a janitorial company, why not create a group of manufacturing company owners or business owners? If you have a travel company, create a group for people who love to travel. If you have a coaching practice, create a group of people who want to lose weight, but not as a sales funnel pipeline thing to make money. No one goes to those. They just go. Sometimes people show up because they want leads, and you don't want to build something like that. You want to build something around shared desire, because that's fun. That's what everyone wants to go to. So avoiding the grind of pushing the boulder up the hill, which is what a lot of coaches teach today in how to improve yourself in your business industry, is there's idea of, keep struggling, keep doing it, make it happen. I don't want to do that. I don't know a lot of people who want to push boulders up the hill. I think there's a lot of people who feel like they have to. And then there's some people who feel proud of the fact they're able to, until it crushes them, because it's going to at some point. You're going to run out of energy, because life is not about pushing boulders up hills. It just doesn't work that way. So This is a market. Seth Godin's a marketer, and he's not a marketer at all, which is hilarious because he keynotes marketing conferences, and he's basically telling people don't market. Sort of like George Carlin is so I won't get into that, but they buy relation stories and magic. That's right. That's called shared desire. Shared desire. Avoid the boulder. Don't make it hard for people. Don't ask them to push boulders up hills either by going through a complicated series of experiences with you. Give them something that helps impact on the shared desire you've created together. And that means you're an expert enough in your market at this point to really know what that is before they tell you. This is, if not the most important thing that I'm going to say than anything. Um, Too many people buy things they don't need with money they don't have, trying to impress people they don't even like. Who is getting this business in the market? The marketers. The marketers want suckers. Why? Because they pay faster and the business builds quicker and it's unstable. Because the minute people figure out you're a hustler, whether you think you are or not, you are if you're marketing, because you're trying to persuade by attacking the pain center of the brain to get people to buy stuff they don't need with money they don't have, trying to impress people they don't even like. I don't want those customers. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's life and for having them think I've got some kind of an answer for them when what I have is a pathway to help them find an answer for themselves. Suckers don't buy that. So this is the escape from the con artist kind of thing, from you being the con artist, which I've been many times in my life without even knowing it, or being conned. So stay out of this game. And this is the trap. And the pride of the sales industry of saying, here's how to do it, and I'm looking at it and saying, I don't want the result of that, is something you may want to think about before you go too far with this. If you get to share desire with people and have the right kind of experiences, that's more of a red pill pathway thing than more money now because it's more involved. But if you create the right kind of experiences, you avoid the schmooze trap because you're not selling ice to Eskimos anymore. You're also not selling solutions to pain anymore. That's almost as bad because that's basically telling people you have an answer for them. Instead, you're helping people elevate their life experience because you're helping them figure out their desire, enhance it, and elevate it, and take responsibility for it. Be part of a group of other people that are doing the same and have the same shared desire and have pathways forward together. And you can't do that if you keep marketing. It's just not going to happen. So how do you know how you're doing with Schmooze? First, do I know their vision? Can you articulate to yourself what their vision is or what you want their vision to be? If you can only explain I see this all the time with salespeople, is they'll tell me what they want the other person to want. And I ask them, who wanted it, you or them? And then they lie to me because they realize they screwed up and they don't want me to know. If I'm the sales director or whatever, I own a sales outsourcing company, so I used to have to deal with this a lot. So do you know their vision? Can you clearly articulate the way they explained it? That's important. Second, is my attention on them and me? This is called dual awareness. This is, I call it open aperture focus. And I do a lot on that in the red pill pathway of how to get to open aperture focus. And all this means is my attention is on them and me. In other words, now it's schmooze, you're getting serious. Like the resonance has got to be equal. So it resonates with me and it resonates with them at a deep level to get to a shared desire. Because if it resonates with me this much and with them an inch deep, they shouldn't buy. They're not ready. They're more here. And you don't want these people. They're the worst clients. They don't pay. They quit. Your churn will be high. If you have a software company and you're marketing to get these people, they're not ready because they're lying to themselves and they're confused and they think you're an easy answer. So they're buying ice from you because you're good at marketing and selling. Have we created a shared desire? What's a shared desire? 1 + 1 = 3. My vision is this, your vision is that. We connected it, we resonate with each other, and now we're like, wow, there's a we here. How do we get to the we? What are our roles in the we? Now I get more into that in next, which is the next video. But at Schmooze, it's if you can't articulate the shared desire, if you're just thinking of it in terms of what your desire is for them, then you lose because it doesn't matter. They're not going to do it because they don't care enough. If their if their desire doesn't, I had a guy that I don't want to talk to him again because he he can't get past the fact that he won't stop chasing money and figure out what he has of value. He's like he can't unstick himself from the idea of, well, if it works, then it worked because then I'll have money and I just want money. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to get money if you have a good product that makes sense. He's like, well, I have a good product. I'm like, well, why do you care? Like, why does it matter? And we're going in circles. So he has a desire for me to help him figure out how to make money with some how to steps, which I have, but I'm not going to tell him because it'll never work because he's one of these kind of people. He's looking for relief from that pain. And then he was thinking I was selling him. And I'm like, if I was selling you, I'd get you to buy because I do this. I would find a way to get you to buy instead of telling you the truth that your issue is your pain and your fear around not having enough money as opposed to not having the best how to method. So I'm not going to show you a how to method, which I don't call them how to methods, but there's ways of succeeding and different ways of connecting. And I don't want to take him there because that's not the issue and it won't work for him. So directed effort is important, but not necessarily grinding away or pushing boulders up hills or forcing people to do things or being productive just for its own sake. So sell it hard when you're talking about an Estee Lauder does not mean what it means for some people. This is not selling ice to Eskimos. She had an inner directed vision of a world based on a product she created from inside herself, brought it out into the world for a certain group of people, and knew them well, knew how to connect with them, knew how to ask herself what was right for them and figure out what resonated with them too, get to a shared desire around the world she was creating for people. And then next was having a clear understanding of what you're going to get, as a part of it, and some decisions around that in terms of how she ran the business and dealt with retailers and packaged products for the consumer. She directed that effort. So the word sell is a little confusing here. When I hear somebody say, I've never worked a day in my life without selling, I know they're not selling. In other words, they're not trying to convince anybody of anything because, like a Steve Jobs, they already know what effort they're directing and why. The idea of sprints is our energy flow is more important than our productivity. And if you're a linear lateral thinker versus a organized analytical thinker versus a creative flowing thinker or someone who is action oriented where you can't finish the thing you're learning, you got to run and take off and get into action, or you're what I call a compliant style learner. And for you, it's more like, what do I do? What are my steps? I need some rules. I need some organization. I need accountability. And you can't get started. Either way, you got to know that and how to create a sprint system where you put the effort in, put the effort in, put the effort in consistently. And that gets back to the idea of where'd it go? I thought I had it in here. All right, where is it? I guess I sell it hard is what it is. So that directed effort of it's not selling hard, it's being consistent. Oh, a lot of this stuff is in the Connect modules. That's right, it's in the Connect module. And I realized I should go back to this. I just saw this. Empathy, attentive, directed. Empathy means you're paying attention to them too and feeling what it's like to be in their shoes, not projecting onto them. That's sympathy. Attentive is you're noticing what's going on. Remember the stool. So notice, adjust, and calibrate all the time. Directed means, you're in a flow. Like with people, you're kind of like you know what you want. You know why you're there, and you want to figure out why they're there, and you want to end whatever you're doing with a clear understanding of that. So how do you get started right away? Keep a list of people who are worth your time and track what they said and why they think you are worth their time. And what I do is when I don't do this anymore, but when I was doing this, I was looking at the data and saying, can I articulate the shared desire to myself? Can I articulate their vision to me in relation to my vision and what I explained to them and what that shared desire looks like for them and what they said about it? And if I can tell myself and someone else that story, I know I'm getting really good at schmooze. And it was surprising to me how bad I was. And I realized it's because I wasn't listening. I was talking at them, thinking they heard what I said, but they didn't at all. There was no resonance thought because I was trying to get them to do what I wanted. And we never got to schmooze because I never asked them anything. I was probing for information so I could get them to buy. So I could tell you a lot about them, but it was all through the filter of how can I get them to do what I want? And that means I didn't get it at all. So I didn't do this step. I skipped it completely. So in the next video, we'll go to next, and we're going to talk about a different way to think about persistence and energy and effort that's a lot easier on the boulder pushing up the hill, and how to not waste time with people and doing things that you don't want to be doing, because none of us really want to do that, and you don't have to.